About how to match dye sublimation with embroidery. The cool thing about this is we can do it on 100% cotton, so we're basically laying down a polyester thread pattern, and then we're going to embroider direct or put dye sublimation directly over top of that. So here's an example of our pattern. It's a little bit fuzzy, but you can see you'll see it in much more detail here in a short second. There you go.
Hey.
So this is our pattern, and we're going to put some dye sublimation directly over this pattern. So first, before we get into that, let's talk about what dye sublimation is and how it works. Basically, you're printing on a piece of paper, you're printing ink directly on paper, and then you're using that paper with heat and pressure to make it bond to the material, to the substrate. So it can be a hard substrate, it can be soft. Josh got into this for a long time. He was doing cups. A lot of mugs, so you had multiple mug presses.
Yeah, mug presses, I got double press, slip mats, there's so much stuff you can do with it.
So much stuff. So this is a really simple concept. This is a fictional sort of department, fire department logo we came up with just for you guys who do first responders. If you don't, you should probably reach out to them and do first responder stuff. But so we're doing plaques. Here's a 5-year anniversary plaque, for example. One thing that we can do and mix this with embroidery, which is pretty exciting. This is twill. This is just white twill.
Yep.
And we put dye sublimation directly over top of this. So in an upcoming episode, we're going to show you how to mix some embroidery in with this. We're going to do some tackle twill, how you can just basically create anything you want on twill material. Instead of buying raw twill, like say pink twill or whatever, you can dye sublimate it pink. So we'll get into that. This stuff is called Chromolux. This is a metal polyester coated firm substrate that is really, really hot in the industry right now. It gives you outstanding results, and it's great for photographers, for gifts. You did some Chromolux stuff in your day too, didn't you?
Yeah, it's good stuff. It sells for, I mean, the profit margins on there are
really
awesome.
high.
Yeah, it's great
so
stuff.
That's one thing to talk about with dye sublimation is the profit margins are high. The expense is extremely low, but the margins are high.
Exactly.
Something like that, like this piece of Chromolux here, could easily retail for $100+, and it only costs you maybe 10 to make. So a lot of potential there. Socks is another thing. We'll get into socks. We'll be doing a tutorial on socks later on. But just fun stuff. A lot of actually goods are designed this way or created this way now with dye sublimation. One thing about it is it needs to be white substrate for the most part. So you can do lighter colors, but typically to get the most vibrancy, we're doing white. So with that, that's the general overview of dye sublimation and how that works. We're going to show you how to now combine this with embroidery. And we have this simple logo. I'm going to show you on my computer now. This simple logo that was sent to us theoretically by the fire department. I created this, but let's say that this is their left chest logo and this is what they want to do on all of their apparel on the left chest. Why don't we come back out real quick and look at, say, here's the design for the t-shirt. We printed this on the direct-to-garment printer with the Epson F2100. This is just direct-to-garment print. So perfect for a nice cotton t-shirt on the back. And on the front, they want to put that logo. So we could print that logo. We could embroider that logo. But one way to save a little bit of money in stitches and give really an outstanding high-quality result is to combine it.
That way. And not to mention, you could put up a bunch of these blanks and say, the fire department comes in, they have one logo. Well, now you can just slap it on there real quick, heat press it. They come in, they want a different logo. You can have stuff stocked so that you're not, you can turn it around a lot quicker.
Smart. So how long would it take to embroider something like this with this full-blown logo?
I think that one took maybe 6 minutes to do.
6 minutes. And going to our logo now on my computer, how long would it take to embroider something like that with all the detail?
I'd say at least double the time.
Double the time, right. So we're saving a little bit of time by going to dye sublimation. And here's how this simply would work on the Illustrator side. So they submit art to you. In this case, all the pieces are their own, so that's convenient. We're just going to remove basically the black stitching, the black rope pattern around it, and we're left now with essentially what we want to dye sublimate because we created the other element, embroidery. So for the dye sublimation side for the Epson, I would save this as a PDF on my desktop, and that will be sufficient for the dye sublimation side. So from here, I'll take it into my dye sub program, tile it, leave it the same size it is. In this case, our design is, so everybody's aware, 3 inches wide. So from here, Now how do we create that embroidery element? I'm going to pass it off to Josh. He's going to show you how to create this rope pattern embroidery.
Exactly. All right, so on here, I'll show you a simplified version to do this. This one's a little bit more complex, but I took the vector file that John had done over in Illustrator. We brought it into Design Shop, and what we did is we did a nice fill, and then we did a nice rope background over here. You can see in the original file, we had the rope all the way around. What I did is we just made the rope in here to give it a little bit more 3D detail instead of it having it all pressed. When we send that over to the machine, though, we're going to want to go on the white polyester thread. As we were saying earlier, John was mentioning, you want to have it on white polyester. So I'm going to change this one over to white. And then we're going to change over that blackboard. And you could do, since it's not the black that we're putting on here isn't the white, it's not going to adhere to that. So that's where we're going to get that detail in there. Throw that in 3D mode so you can actually see. So a little bit more complex. Let me show you a good way to just quickly make these. So there's a couple options here in Design Shop. What we can do is we can grab our vector fill here, and we could just go over here to stitch direction, and, oops, hitting buttons all over the place, and just go right over that. And we have a simple fill right here. We could also select that fill again and just add a nice single line border over here. And now we have a border on there that we could change to any color that we want that would look good. And you can see now that fits right over the top there. Everything lines up. Couple other options if you go over here to the Selectmen Automatic Custom, you have a filled circle already right here in Design Shop that you can pull up and run. But that's a simple gist of it, not too hard to do. And you can reuse this application. This is at the 3 inches. There's a little bit of bleed area on there. But yeah, you can reuse that over and over and over.
So easy to take art from Illustrator that we've created, modify it a little bit for the print side, and then give it to you to add
exactly.
the
That didn't
side.
take any time. I mean, we just created that file. And,
Nice.
you know.
So what's it look like on the embroidery machine?
On the embroidery machine, we'll go over here. We'll pop this off. So this is one we already ran. Just nice, simple fill. We want to go over on the top.
Yeah.
So nice simple fill in there. There's that black in there that I was talking about. So we added the detail in the embroidery as opposed to the Illustrator, so we get that little bit more.
And what size hoop did you use here?
This is the 4.68, right? The 12. So,
Easy to hoop.
Yeah, nice and
Easy
easy.
to do. You want to give it that little extra pop, a little bit of embroidery right work instead of printing. So from here, now that we have our embroidery done, we've sent our art to the dye sublimation printer. This is the Epson F6370. It's the newest, latest, and greatest kind of from Epson. It's really easy to install. It's easy to maintain. It's just simple and fast. It's 44 inches. And this is the month of November, and on sale this month it's $74.95, if I'm not mistaken, and that includes free ink, installation, free shipping, and a bunch of paper. So you can get started with dye sublimation really quickly and easily with an inexpensive, high-quality direct-to-garment or dye sublimation printer. So you can see it's printed out already. I'm just going to cut this sheet, and we're going to take this. We're going to take this print. We're going to bring it over to the table. I'm going to show you how to line it up on the embroidered element, and a few tips and tricks with that, and how we can really become consistent with this and easy. Dye sublimation has a lot of applications. We really like the embroidery element on polyester thread because it really opens a lot of options, things you couldn't potentially do before, where you couldn't dye sublimate on 100%
Exactly,
cotton.
and that kind of puts you ahead of your competition too. You're offering something that they're not. You're getting that nice 3D effect, some pizzazz on there, so
yeah,
it'll look
exactly.
good.
Pizzazz, that's the name of the gang,
that's-
isn't it?
Yeah, pizzazz.
Pizzazz. All right, so I'm just gonna. I printed a whole gang sheet here, but I'm just gonna cut out one. And when we're doing this, the trick here, there's really not much to it. It's pretty simple. We just basically cut around the design the way we would kind of do it in any application, I suppose. The trick, though, is I often get asked, is this the way it's done? Is there another way to do this? And the reality is, I've been in some production shops at the high level where they do this for a lot of sports teams and a number of other high-profile clients. And the way to cut out polyester, or way to cut out dye sublimation and add it to polyester is the old-fashioned way. So from here, the line-up side is what a lot of people have questions about. I'm going to show you how simple this is. So you can kind of see through the paper, which is nice, so there's a little transparency to it. We'll essentially line up our shirt like we normally would, trying to find out, addressing where square is. And from here, basically, you stick it right over top where you think it's going to fit. You kind of raise one side, you raise another, you sort of just eyeball it, frankly, and that's the best way to do it. But believe it or not, with dye sublimation, you can't really sublimate onto cotton.
Exactly.
It's not going to stick,
yeah.
right? So we have a little bit of leeway there.
And we should mention too that was we mirrored the image too when we printed it.
Yeah,
correct?
So the software will automatically mirror it for you, but if you don't mirror it, it would go on mirrored. So
yeah,
good thing it does that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So again, it's not hard. I can do this pretty quickly. Just gonna kind of eyeball that. So this is blue painter's tape. There's other type tape, right?
Yeah, we have. You can get a heat transfer tape that's made specifically for this, but chances of you have that laying around probably slim.
Right.
I mean, every household has painter's tape, I think.
Yeah,
so.
and you need it for embroidery.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Embroidery.
you probably have it. The benefit is we want to use this blue painter's tape because it leaves no adhesive behind.
Right.
If it left an adhesive sort of mark, that would look bad.
Yeah,
We'd have to scrape it off, rub it off. But this blue painter's tape, though it's not necessarily ideal, it will work.
Yep, exactly.
So the trick here is we have it lined up, we have it taped, we want to tape it down so we make sure that it stays in where it's supposed to stay and it doesn't move. Thing with dye sublimation is you can do some ghosting.
Exactly.
So if you don't have high heat and pressure with dye sublimation, you're not going to get a good result.
Yes.
So heat presses are critical with dye sublimation. Most machines will do a good job, but you got to have a high quality heat press that allows for consistent heat, consistent pressure. We use Hottronics, it works really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and thread this or dress it. Two ways to call it. We just had that conversation before we started this podcast. I put a little paper down just to protect. We want heat pressure to be relatively high, and we want heat to be around 420 degrees. It needs to be consistently at least 400, but you can't really go wrong with 420. Right. So I'm just going to smash it down. With cups, Josh, you have to use a ton of pressure, right?
Yeah, you
want
want
a lot of time.
A lot of time. I'd say an average, it usually takes like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to print a cup. So that's where if you have a big run, multiple cup platens or heat presses really come in handy.
You're going to be in there for a while.
Exactly.
Whereas on a soft goods, maybe we're at 30 seconds.
Yeah, no
on
time.
Chromolux, maybe you're at 45 seconds.
Yep.
Because the ceramic in cups, maybe you're at 2 minutes or plus.
Exactly.
What is that called?
The plaque?
The plaque.
Yep.
Yeah, that was only that was only maybe 40 seconds as well. So we'll let it pop. This is a cold peel or a hot peel, so we can just peel it right off the garment right now. This is not reusable, so it doesn't matter if you smash it. And here's our result.
Look at that beaut.
Something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is what we started with. This is what we ended with. So again, there's a lot of functionality, a lot of things you can do with that. I think that just looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, super good.
Yep, and so even on a t-shirt or on something flimsy, we're not using a ton of stitches, it's not really thick. We're able to give it a nice hot, good pop with the dye sublimation.
And that might come in handy with something that, say, has really small text or a lot of detail on there. Printing that off on the dye sub's way easier than embroidering that whole file out. So
really
you need a lot more detail.
Lines.
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty simple, pretty easy. Do you guys have any questions? Anything we can help answer for you?
Yeah, not too much to that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? Well, until next time, Josh, I'm glad you're here, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
So
see you
guys next time.